Welcome to Cooler Than You Think. Stories from America's coolest hometown.
Hi, I'm Amanda Livingston, Director of Tourism for Smith County Tourism Association, and I am excited to introduce our new podcast series about the town of Marion. We've got untold stories from what's called America's coolest hometown. And today I am here with two folks from Hungry Mother State Park, part of Virginia State Parks system. And we have the park manager, Kevin McDonald. And then we have Chief Ranger of Visitor Experience, Tanya Hall. I'm very proud of myself for getting that right. So thank you so much thank you for being here with me.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Awesome.
I'm excited.
Good. Well, I know you all know everything there is to know about Hungry Mother State Park. And so, and I have had the privilege of taking a tour with Tanya before. So I know some of the answers, but I'm excited to hear some of, again, those untold stories that folks may not know. So, for folks, because we don't know who's listening or watching this podcast, for folks who are not familiar at all with Hungry Mother State Park, kind of give us an overview of what are some of the park's most attractive features and why do people seek it out?
Yeah, of course. So what I like to tell people is if you want to do something in the outdoors, Hungry Mother State Park is the place that you got to go. And so we have 3 campgrounds, all the way from full service with electric, water, and sewer to kind of like a primitive style tent camping with pads and everything. But every single campground, of course, will have its own dedicated bathhouse. So we're in the 21st century on that front, at least. And then we have 32 cabins and lodges, and we have 3 yurts. And so, I always like to talk about the yurts just because there's some folks that don't necessarily know what that may all be about. Right. And so a yurt is just pretty much a glorified tent site, but it's got 4 walls, or it's a circular walled canvas site that has a bed, chairs, everything on the inside. It does not have central air conditioning, so I always like to kind of start with that.
So it's almost like a glamping experience.
It is, yeah. It'd be like a state park version of glamping, but with without the amenities that some people may expect from the glamping experience. But it's really a fun time to bring your family out, especially if it's kind of an in-between. If they don't necessarily want to do the camping, but they may not want to fully commit to a cabin. Yeah. It's a very good in-between. And so I always like that, to offer that to folks that may be looking for something that kind of hits that sweet spot in the middle. On top of that, of course, there's Hungry Mother Lake. It's a 108-acre lake that's full of fish. Anything from muskie to bass to crappie, bluegill, muskie, all the walleye, all those can be found in the lake that we have for anybody to catch, as long as they follow, of course, the regulations, posted regulations for it. We do have a swimming beach, which is open technically 24/7, 365 to the public, as long as it's during normal operating hours. We only post lifeguards from Memorial Day to Labor Day just for an enhanced form of safety. But if there's no guards, it's swim at your own risk. So all those rules are posted as well on there.
You want to go do a polar bear plunge?
That's right.
Middle of winter?
I wouldn't recommend it. If anything else, definitely let a ranger know if you're going to do it in the coldest of days.
Safety first.
Yep, absolutely.
Safety first.
And so we've got trails as well that are open to everything except for horses. So it's going to be mountain biking and hiking.
Gotcha.
But we don't.
And obviously not motorized, but
we do accept e-bikes, but it's got to be the pedal assist e-bikes as well. So a lot of folks will definitely take advantage of those amenities. And we do have a special event section. And so we can host a wedding or a family reunion. We have our Lakeview Event Center, which used to be our full service restaurant. And then we also have our Farrell Hall Conference Center, which is used for kind of bigger family reunions.
So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, last but certainly not least is going to be our outdoor education and interpretation department, which Tanya heads up and does an absolutely amazing job. And she can talk more about that after I'm done running my mouth. But we are very proud of what we do in terms of education, not only within the park, but also in the community. And I think that's one of the things that Tanya and her crew do probably the best that I've seen around, which is to be able to go out to the folks to bring nature and those sorts of involvements to them.
Well, Tanya, how would you compare, kind of everything that Hungry Mother State Park has to offer with your your average state park or other state parks in the system? Is it in terms of the programming and the amount of activity?
Well, in the programming, we, especially through Memorial Day to Labor Day, we'll offer anywhere from 25 to 35 programs a week.
A week.
Yeah. And so I think we have quite a bit more programming than some parks. We've got a little bit of a larger staff, so we were able to do that.
Yeah.
The park is a little bit of a larger park. We have a lot of more amenities. Some are only day use. We are overnight. So, but we do offer a lot of program. We talk to a lot of people. I think last year We talked to my group alone, and there was about 5 of us, talked to about 28,000 people.
Oh, wow.
So we do talk to a lot of people.
And that actually, I didn't have this on my list of questions, but for folks who are not familiar, I mean, folks who are from Southwest Virginia, we know kind of the scope of what you're doing, but about how many visitors are you serving per year on average?
Oh, that's a great question. I can't remember what the average was off the top of my head. That would have been a good number to know.
I don't want to. I remember it being somewhere around upwards of 200,000 a year. So that's okay. So I'm not way off base there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is pretty significant because this series is kind of about Marion and some of its history. But just, for folks out there, Marion's only got a population of like 8,000 people or under. So that's pretty significant.
Absolutely.
Serving that many people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Tanya, tell me a little bit about when the park was founded and how that actually came to be.
Okay, so back in the late 20s, the United States was coming out of the Great Depression, and Franklin Roosevelt was running for president on his New Deal platform, and he was actually elected on this platform, and it was a way to bring the United States out of the Great Depression, to put men back to work, increase the economy, and just get the United States back on their feet. And so some of the programs that he created back then are actually still going on today. You've got the TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority,
Sure.
You've got the FSA, you got Social Security. But the one that Hungry Mother was based on is the CCC, or Civilian Conservation Corps. And William Carson had a dream of having a state park within 50 miles of every person in Virginia.
Yeah.
And he was the commissioner or the secretary to the Commission of Natural Resources, which would be like the director of the DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation today.
Yeah.
So he met with President Roosevelt, and he asked the president if he could have them in. And I have a quote here from the president, and it states that when William Carson asked the president what he thought of the president asked William Carson what he thought of the newly created CCC, Carson observed that while the CCC boys were doing great work on the federal lands, he felt they might be better employed developing a system of state parks. And the president replied that he would provide the necessary CCC men and materials if Virginia could demonstrate to the nation what such a system of parks would mean to a state. And so really, we were one of the leading. Virginia was used as a model for all other state park systems.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So good to his word. Carson went back and was able to get Hungry Mother kind of came into being almost overnight because Carson was able to get almost 2,000 acres. It was 2,500 acres donated pretty much within 2 months.
Wow.
There's 2 businessmen. It was John and Charles Lincoln. And they donated about 1,800 acres right off from the beginning.
This is not throughout Virginia. This is specifically in
right,
Marion's
right
town.
in Marion.
Yeah.
Yes. So they had a little recreation area, and it was called Lake Forest, and it was already kind of like it's where part of the lake is right now. It was already a small impoundment there, and they had like a dance hall with a bridge going over the dance hall. And so they had all this entertainment there already, so they thought this would be a great area to have the park. And so the Lincolns donated 1,800 acres, and then what we believe was Frank Copenhaver went in and talked to all these other people, because within this large amount of area, they had land in holdings in this area.
Yeah.
And so they went in and talked to these private people, and they also donated it, the land also.
So I don't know this for sure, but my guess is that that's unusual. So I think typically the story is like with the Blue Ridge Parkway or some of these wonderful things is typically the federal government, the state government comes in and says, we're taking the land. And, like it or not, this is what's happening. But it sounds like this was community-wide, that there were people who kind of bought into the idea.
It was people from Marion and Smith County.
Yeah.
And actually, I think Hungry Mother's I can't say this for sure, but they're a little bit different because there is actually still in holdings within the park. Those
to this
day that people did not donate their land. It's not very many, but there is small areas throughout the park that there are in holdings still.
Well, and I think too, it's a reflection, I think, of just kind of the Appalachian heritage and Appalachian people of just, they were forced in a sense, in a way of self-sufficiency and to be able to take care of oneself. And the beauty of that one is then once you had a community initiative that everybody would get on board with and to be able to support, not only does that give you the opportunity to, kind of look out for your neighbor, but to really trust the person that you're talking with on the other side of the table and believe what they're telling you about what a wonderful opportunity this was and what a great thing that this could be.
Yeah, it does strike me as that's a lot of trust, to put into. So having those local folks stand up and say, I'm giving my land to this because I think it's going to be a net good for our community, and I want you to do the same. And that's well, you actually, I think, kind of answered my next question was going to be why Marion, because I heard you say there was the goal that they would be spread out, so that I think you said within 50 miles, any Virginia citizen could get to a state park. But why Marion versus any of the other locations? So was it because of those citizens who donated the land? Was that kind of, here's the free land, and we've got the people, we've got the promise of the people, and then we've got the land, and we have to put the two together.
And I also think it's because we already had that little small recreation area there.
So historically, people were used to coming there and recreating there. Yeah.
Well, and I think I don't know if it's ever been, the official term or whatever, but, Marion has been sort of the gateway to the park. And so a lot of state parks, not only just in our system, but of course throughout the nation, rely upon their distance from humanity to kind of be what draws them.
Yeah.
And Hungry Mother, I think, is such a wonderful thing because you have all of these nice amenities and local things. And of course now, back then it wasn't, but now, Interstate 81 and all of that access. But you go over a mountain or a hill, I guess. If I'm in Virginia, I'm originally from Michigan. You got to forgive my definition of mountains and hills.
Just a hill.
But you go over a hill, and it's like you're back. You are back into the wilderness. You are gone. You are out of humanity. And so I think that association and relationship between not only just the park but also the town of Marion and all the access that it can give has just been something that grows over time. And
that's I'm really glad you pointed that out, because again, for folks who are not familiar with what we're talking about at all, first of all, I'm glad they stumbled upon this podcast. But my office is in downtown Marion, and I can get from my office front door to Hungry Mother State Park in about 12 minutes, and that's not breaking any speed limit laws. So it really is. Yeah, it's incredibly accessible for people to get to. Well, so it sounds like, from the response, it sounds like the locals were enthusiastic about the idea. Is that kind of fair to say from the history that we know?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can't get that sort of communication and cooperation without a lot of people being on board with the same vision and the same goal.
And one thing you have to remember also is that when the CCC was brought in, just a little bit more history. So the men would come in from other areas. So we actually received men. So we had 3 camps of 200 men apiece. And so these young men were brought in from out west, but they actually had come from New York, New Jersey. They didn't want to bring in the local people because they didn't want them to go AWOL. So they'd have to travel a ways to get home. But the supervisors that actually taught the men were hired from the local areas.
Yeah.
So that also helped the economy, and so they were bringing in the supervisors. So I think Marion, knowing that some of their people were going to be hired to be brought in to teach the young men, also.
So this is, I find the CCC fascinating because you mentioned other programs that still are in existence that we're all very familiar with, but the CCC is not. So it's really radically different. So when you say young men, describe the typical CCC man, and they were all men, right?
Actually, there were 2 camps of what they called the she camps.
Really? In Marion or just
no.
in general? Okay.
There was 2 camps. There was one, I believe.
She.
You like that?
And I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I think one was in New York and one was in Georgia.
Okay. But in at Hungry Mother State
Roosevelt
Park
started those.
Yeah. Oh. Well, I like her.
That's right.
Okay, but so these young men, so sort of describe the typical CCC man who was working on the park, constructing the park.
So they had to be at first, like they were 18 to 24, and then I think they increased the age to 26. They were already on in the system and being given help.
So kind of the unemployment system or whatever the version was at that time.
And they were all, they were said to be underweight. They were out of work. They were traveling around looking for work. And so they had them, join if they wanted to with the CCC.
And what did they get in return? Like, what would be the lure? I mean, obviously, if they're underweight, they were fairly desperate for work. So, but what was the promise?
So they would get 3 meals a day.
Yeah.
They were brought in. They got paid $1 a day.
$1 a day.
They were called the $1 a day men. And they had to. So they made about $30 a month, and they kept $5 of it for themselves, and then they sent the $25 back home to the family. So it brought the money so that $5 could be spent in the local area. So again, you're helping the local economy, but you're sending that money home to help the families also. So it was a wide range stretch. This money helped a lot of individuals and not just the men themselves.
Well, and it was built around, of course, a military structure as well. And so, you had rank, you had PT, you had all of these things that teach them structure and organization and self-dependency, and it taught them trades you talked about.
They received a trade, and then in the evening they could receive their education. And so a lot of them went home with an education and also a trade that they could use to better themselves. So they really got a lot out of it. Yeah. But I've read a couple quotes that one said that he would have worked for the food alone, and then another one said he would have worked for the milk alone.
Oh, wow. Wow. But I guess but you said some of them, they were worried about them going AWOL. So some of them may have gotten tired of the hard work and gone AWOL. But overall, they enjoyed it.
Right. And I'm sure that's just like anybody. I mean, you just don't know when you start the program, or these young men are going to stay or
stick with it. Yeah.
Well, it's a reflection of the times of just how desperate the situation was, of something that from our side of, probably some privilege and some wealth, of sitting there and being like, why would anybody want to do this? Well,
right.
At the time, it was the lifeline for some of these young men to just sit there and be like, finally, I've got a direction. I can go do something that not only is meaningful, but takes care of me and takes care of my family.
Yeah, you're right. It is hard for us to wrap our head around, but what a legacy that's left, because, I mean, that you said that was late 1930s, I think. So we're coming up on 100 years, right? And I mean, not much longer. So
they started in October of 33. And then by June of 36, Hungry Mother was the furthest one. So we didn't even. They started. So Carson again had the dream of a park within 50 miles of every person. So we actually started 6 parks. So William Carson started 6 parks at the same time. I'm going to put you to the test. Do you know our first 6 state parks?
You know what? I told Tanya there would be no gotcha questions, but I did not make her tell me there would be no gotcha questions. I know First Landing is one of them.
Good, yeah.
Hungry Mother, I'll give you a hint.
Hungry Mother is one of them. I believe... That's all I got.
That's fine. Do you remember what First Landing was originally called?
I don't.
Seashore State Park.
Seashore State Park.
Yep.
Listen, y'all, I was born in Georgia, so I learned Georgia
history
as a child, and I'm late to the Virginia history,
we won't
so don't hold it against me.
Yeah, we won't fault you for it.
It was Douthit, Ferrystone, Stanton River, and Westmoreland.
Okay.
Were the first 6. But by 1936, we were the furthest one along in our facilities being built, the trails being built, and so they decided to have opening day at Hungry Mother State Park. And this was for all of Virginia state parks. And so that weekend is our History and Culture weekend now. And but they had all sorts of activities the whole weekend. The Governor Peary, came and spoke. The Director Fetchner from the CCC came and spoke. They had just band competitions. They had wasn't a beauty competition, a swimming suit, but it was more of a fashion show for swimsuits.
Fun.
They had lifeguard demonstrations, diving competitions, and all sorts of stuff.
So I am thinking that we need to start planning the 100th for 2036. I think we need to start planning that, and we need to have a fashion competition as part of the 100th at Hungry Mother State Park in 2036.
Yeah. So there is an initiative, of course, right now with Virginia State Parks for 2036. It's going to be the 100th year anniversary.
Okay.
And I just think of that, what a wonderful thing to envision if you close your eyes and have it start here in 1936 and have it start almost again, if you think about it from that standpoint, as a celebration of 100 years at the same park with the same, if not better, relationship with the stakeholders around in the town of Marion, and all of the things that would just make that such a great full circle experience would just be amazing.
Well, I will put it on my calendar.
Yeah.
I think that would be fantastic. Well, so I want to, and it's not a gotcha question, but because Tanya knew it was coming, I want to talk about the name.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know what your version of the real story of Hungry Mother State Park name is, because I've heard several versions, and I have my favorite, but I want to know what version you tell.
So I'll go with mine first, because Tanya's probably got a better explanation than mine. But the story of the name was never meant to be taken as a fact, as a historical fact. It was always going to be an anecdote that kind of drew people into the park.
Mm-hmm.
And so to this day, it has done its job. We can't tell you how many times we get somebody to come in and be like, "Hey, I saw it driving down the interstate. What's this name about?
What is this name?
Yep.
Yeah, tell me."
And so, there's a lot of things, like I said, that I'll defer to Tanya, because she can speak more eloquently on it than I can, of where those names kind of came together to create this story about what the park was and where it came to be. But I think at the heart of not just the story, but also the name itself, continues to do what it intended, which is to bring people with curiosity of this very abstract name to come see what this place is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And then they show up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is so much more than a name," but the name fits it just as well as anything else.
It piqued their interest.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'll let Tanya talk more intelligently about some of that than I can.
So are you wanting to hear the legend? Is that what you're actually...
Okay, yeah. So let's assume someone has never heard, they have no idea what we're talking about. Why is it? Yeah. So give me the whole story.
So back in the 1700s, we're in an area that were pretty much known for, they were sacred hunting grounds for numerous Native American tribes. And so there really wasn't a whole lot of permanent settlements in this area. They were more camping settlements, temporary settlements. And as they came through, they would hunt for their livelihood. And so there wasn't any ownership of the land. And then mid-1700s, the settlers started coming into this area, and they found this area to be a prime area for living, for homes, building homes, separating up the land. You get this part, I get this part. This created a lot of strife between the two peoples. East of here on the New River, the Native Americans, they had taken Molly Marley and a young child. And as they moved along this way, they continued to hunt through the area. Well, one night, Molly escaped with her young child. So she followed the rivers and the creeks and everything. And as she went along, she fed everything she found to her young child. Well, she collapsed and the child wandered off, and a trapper found the child. And all the child could say was,
"Hungry mother." It's a pretty devastating story, to be honest.
So they followed the child's trail back to Molly, and Molly had perished beside the creek and at the base of the highest knob. So the creek is now named Hungry Mother Creek, and the highest knob in the park is named Molly's Knob. And so that is where our legend comes from. It is what I'm
hearing a butt coming.
I think, as Kevin said, it's based on, I believe it's based on another story that is true.
Mm-hmm.
The Mary Ingalls Draper, she was captured on the New River east of us, and she was actually taken to the Ohio Valley, the Scioto Valley in Ohio, and then she and another woman had traveled all the way back home, and she had lost one child, and another child was returned to her that had been raised by the Native Americans. And so I really feel that this is based on her story. But again, we do know that there was a map, stated that there was a map that there was a Hungers, Hungars, Hungers Creek, and it was called Hungers Mother's Creek. I think I have a copy of it from, I think it was like 1865.
So Hungers was like a last, because there was a lot of German settlement, and that would have just been Mr. Hunger's mother. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
So they believed Hunger's mother lived up the creek, and so they called it Hunger's Mother's Creek.
Gotcha.
And the name kind of changed, and some people say that we kind of have our own dialect here, and it shortly became from Hunger's Mother's Creek to Hungry Mother's Creek.
Yeah.
But, that's up to you whether you believe an old topographical map or a legend. So.
But either
And
way,
the
it's
legend,
storytelling.
and the thing is, the legend was told. I mentioned Frank Copenhaver earlier.
Yeah.
The legend was told by Frank Copenhaver to, I believe it was the newspapers at the time, and that story had been passed through his family, and it was given by his great grandmother.
Yeah.
So,
passed into oral history.
Well, and we were very fortunate. The state park system in the state of Virginia actually co-opted with a graduate student out of Appalachian State University down in Boone to kind of give us a full picture of a lot of those historical accuracies and how that all relates together and all that. And so that helped give us a much better understanding and full background of just how that tied in, how the relationships at the time, not just with amongst the folks of Marion and everything else, but also just the relationships with the Native American tribes in the region, and how we could better tell that story more accurately rather than just always falling back on the original kind of made up anecdotal story.
That is absolutely fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just think it's fascinating. It is. It's intriguing. It's possibly controversial. It's interesting. And I think you mentioned, or someone mentioned, that another alternative was something like Forest Lake or Lake Forest, which is just the most generic thing you could possibly think of.
It started out as they were thinking about, since we already had Lake Forest Recreation Area, they were going to name it Forest Lake.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, no, let's make it Southwest Virginia State Park, which is exciting. And then when a week or two before the park opened, it came out in the paper, come to Hungry Mother State Park.
Oh, so they kind of got backed into a corner a little bit,
so,
it sounds like.
If it's sort of like on the internet,
it must be true.
True. So it's in the newspaper.
That was the 1930s version of that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Fantastic.
But so in 1936 is when we opened, June 15th, 1936. And we didn't open just Hungry Mother, but all of the state parks in Virginia started. And we were the first state park system to open numerous parks on one day in the country. So
trailblazers.
Which is kind of, And again, they use that as a model for other state parks.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, I think we've talked a lot about how the park has affected Marion and Marion has affected the park, and the history, the kind of the twin histories of that together. But I wanted to jump to, and this is just a random question I thought would be interesting, is what is again, on that theme of untold stories, what is the strangest or weirdest anecdote about the park that you like sharing with visitors that just nobody would expect?
Oh, well, I think the coolest thing that we have at the park, one of them, so we have the blueprints of what the park was supposed to look like, and all the medians in the parking lots, the little grassy areas with
just
the
like
stone.
In between where you park cars.
Most of them are in the shape of tools. Okay. And none of the blueprints show that. So we don't
kind of tools, like what do you, when you say tools?
Well, that was the whole thing, because they're in the shape of tools. So if you look at them, if you look down on them, we don't really know what tools they are because it wasn't in the blueprints. So we don't know if
like a
supervisor,
shovel or an axe.
An adze. I think there's an adze. There might be a Maddox. There looks like there's just one's really just long and straight, like a leveler.
Oh yeah.
That just went right out of my head.
Yeah. Okay.
So I mean, but we don't really know exactly what they are. And there's one that looks like it has a different tool on each end. But as far as I know, I mean, we don't know if the supervisor said, okay, let's do something different, boys, or the boys were like, and I calling them boys, they really were men.
Oh, I mean, I
They
have
were
children. I mean, 18-year-old. Yeah.
But yes, I have a 25-year-old, but yeah,
So
they're men.
Yeah. Young men. That's right.
Young men. But we were like, did they play a joke on the supervisors that day, or
So
what?
maybe they were like, okay, we're a little bit bored of stacking rock and concrete. Let's do something fun and
But
creative.
I
with
do
it.
not know of any other state or national park in the United States that has that.
That's
So
cool.
if anybody comes, check out the medians for
So-
sure.
Okay. And then, so you'll get the best perspective of like aerial view, kind of like bird's eye view.
You can
looking
really,
down, but
if you
can
go
see
to
it.
the end of them
Yeah.
and look down, you
can
will
see
see
it.
them
Okay.
at any
That
time of the
is-
year.
Okay. That is a
And-
great insider
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
And the other fun thing is, we have Molly's Knob. So you hike up to Molly's Knob, which is absolutely a gorgeous view.
Yes.
It's a wonderful hike.
Spectacular.
A lot of people say it's tough, but I just want to say that it's not that tough. We have benches along the way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, you can.
It's
I mean,
just
you
the
take as long as you. I mean, yeah, it's a climb.
It's
I
a
mean,
climb.
it's the highest point in the park, so it is
The
a
last
climb.
point,
but-
4/10 of a mile is the hardest. But
Yeah.
again, we have benches, so take your time and enjoy it. But it's beautiful. There's probably a 280 degree
Oh yeah.
view up there. But if you're looking out, so you're standing on Molly's Knob and you look straight out, you'll see the next highest knob.
Mhm.
Do you know what the name of it is?
No,
Molly's.
really.
We have to.
So in the distance, you're
In the
looking
distance,
at the
yeah.
next. It's,
So ours is MOLLY apostrophe S, and it is MOLLIE apostrophe S.
oh, the two Mollies.
So
that is
not
cool.
too many people know that either.
That's fantastic.
Well, and Tanya had kind of briefly talked about it before, but I've never heard of this before. If I have, I've obviously forgotten. But back when it was kind of the smaller version of what it is today, they had a floating dance floor on the lake.
Really?
So, yep. So, you'd have the folks that would come out to have a good evening, and they would walk out on a little bridge to get to a floating dance floor, and they would dance the night away in the middle of a lake. So I thought that was always just something that always surprised me of how
That is
cool that would have been, but also maybe a little nervous depending on who was dancing and
Yeah.
who got pushed to the edge. Yeah.
What they were they were imbibing at
Yeah.
that time was that that would have been post prohibition. So
And there is a swimming pool down there in the lake also still.
Mhm.
in under the lake,
Mhm.
there's a swimming pool under the lake.
In the lake, yeah.
In the lake.
Kind of at the bottom. So
Fascinating. Yeah, that is. I'm going to see if we can dig up some historical pictures of that. That is really cool. And you imagine back in the 30s, they probably were wearing
Oh, yeah.
fancy clothes.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
they weren't wearing jeans and sneakers.
Yes.
So they were
If
out
took
on
the wrong step to go in, I'm sure they'd be upset about it.
They'd be mad about it. That is fascinating. Well, this has been awesome. I thought I knew a lot about Hungry Mother State Park. Clearly, I don't know everything, so this has been great. Is there anything that you kind of wanted to share before we wrap up? Anything like especially memorable about the park that you want to tell the listeners?
Yeah. So I've always just thought of my history and how that has kind of shaped who I am. And so, like I said, I was originally from Michigan. My grandfather was actually a state park manager up in Michigan. And so my dad would always tell me all the stories that he would tell me about growing up in a state park and how much he loved it and all those things. And so I think this was always kind of my natural trajectory to be where I'm at. And so the way that I translate that to the Hungry Mother experience is when I came down, when I was still in college, to do my internship here with interpretation with visitor experience. I met two wonderful young people that their grandfather and grandmother would bring them out to programs. Got to know them really well. One of my favorite pictures was taken from one of the staff members of me actually pinching the young son's cheek and just laughing and having a big time. And fast forward to when I started again with Virginia State Parks in 2016, the daughter, the oldest daughter from when those experiences happened, was an employee that started as a contact ranger in the park, and then several years later, the older brother but younger than the sister had a job that they had at Hungry Mother State Park, And now the youngest brother from that family that I did not do the interpretation with, but still the same family, is now working for us. And so that just really, I think, outlines not only just how much that park means to people, but just that experience of being able to say that you worked there, what it means to people.
Yeah, that is really special. I mean, it's clear. It sounds like a life-changing experience.
Yeah,
Drew them back.
made a lot
yeah.
today, but Tanya's got a good one too.
As my job as Chief Ranger Visitor Experience, I'm over all the interpretation, as we spoke about earlier. And I go out and help and assist do the interpretation. And one of the things that we do, we have what we call a roving program, where we take an item or something out to the people and we just go
outside of the park.
No, in the park.
In the park.
In the
just
park.
people who are there enjoying the park.
Yeah, we'll take some kind of object or something, and we will go rove to them and talk with them and answer any questions and all that. Well, I decided I would go and rove around and talk with all the fishermen, and I had some little plastic bags, like, little upcycle grocery bags from Walmart or what have you. And I was taking these out and just to see if they needed a trash bag or if they wanted an extra one to pick up some extra trash around them or what have you. And I'd gone out to the boat ramp, and there was a family there, and they had a young son. He was probably, 8 to 10 years old, the grandparents and the mom and dad. And so I was walking up that way, and the little guy asked me, he goes, "Well, what are you doing?" And so I told him, I said, "Well, I'm out here. We're talking about litter and, how we need to pick it up," and just kind of, and he goes, and now he was over at the boat ramp, and I know you know where it's at, but the parking lot, which is a little ways away, not too far, the trash can was over there. And he looked at me and he looked at the trash can. He goes, "Well, that trash can's a long ways away." And I said, "Well, it is a long ways away, isn't it?" And so I pulled out of my pocket some pictures of animals that had been caught in the trash. And there was like a turtle that had been, the shell was deformed because it was stuck in one of the plastic rings that you get your pop cans in. There was a bird that was caught up in fishing line. And so there was about 4 or 5 pictures like that of the different animals. And I showed them to him. I didn't say anything else. I just showed him these pictures. And he looked up at me, and he looked at the trash can, and he looked back at me, and he goes, "That trash can's not very far away."
You're going to make me cry, Tanya.
And it was just, and he grabbed a trash bag from me and went and picked up trash. And it's those kind of connections that the interpreters and every park ranger wants to make, that kind of a connection with the guest that's out there, so that we can have a better world, and just the little things that we do can improve everywhere we're at.
That is really
It's
cool.
kind of the motto, connect people to place. And I think that's a wonderful example of Tanya connecting that place to that person.
Yeah. Well, I do. And I know for a lot of Marion residents, it really does kind of feel like their backyard in some ways. There's a real sense of ownership. Like, this is my park. This is my place. So.
We have so many families that come back year after year after year. And they say, "Oh, I brought my grandchild out here. I'm teaching him to ride a bike because I learned to ride a bike here." Or I'm bringing my, my grandson, my granddaughter, or my, cousin, niece, whoever. I'm going to teach them how to swim because this is where I learned to swim.
Yeah.
And I've got people that come back year after year. We've got a simple program. It's called Trick Your Stick, and they say they're all lined up in their living room every year.
Your stick. So just real quick. I think I know the answer. What does Trick Your Stick mean?
We take hiking sticks. And then we go out and we talk about the trails and about safety on the trails and what's the use. Can you use a hiking hiking stick for? And then they get to trick it out. And
they decorate it.
They decorate it. They paint it. They engrave on it. We've got all sorts of little craft materials, and I have families come back each year, and it's like you get to know them, and they're like, "Yep, we've got them all lined up in our living room.
Got the collection going." That's amazing. Well, this has been awesome. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming all the way down to record this with us. And we will definitely add a link so people can check out the website and learn all about it. And I'm going to go ahead and say again, mark your calendars for June 2036. We're going to be having a big party at Hungry Mother State Park, if I have anything to say about it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you very much for having us.
Enjoyed it.